Wisconsin Parkinson Association, and I'm happy to welcome you to day 5, our final day of our recently diagnosed series. I hope you've been able to join us for some or all of the first 4 programs. If you've missed any of them, or if you want to watch them again, those first 4 programs are up on our website, so you can check them out. That's wiparkinson.org is our website. And if you've been here the last couple of days, you know I've been with a lot of new people in the audience. I've been taking some time to talk a little bit about what WPA does. So I've talked about our educational programs like today that we do many around the state throughout the year. It's one of our biggest programs. We do top-notch in-person and virtual exercise programs for everyone in the state and beyond with the virtual component. We get tons of information out to you various ways, our magazine, our website. Our skilled staff is there to answer your phone calls and emails, basically address any specific questions you have with Parkinson's. And then there's the social events, things like game night or fly fishing, simple gatherings so we can all have fun and together and break isolation. So that's some of what WPA does to deliver our mission. Today, I want to talk just for a minute about how we're able to do that. And like any good recipe, there's different ingredients, and there's 3 key ingredients to how our organization works. The first is our board of directors. We have 17 dedicated volunteers who give their time, their talent, and their treasure to make certain that this organization is governed in a way that allows us to meet your needs, to be sustainable, and to be an organization which you're proud of. So first ingredient is our board. Second is our staff. So Raven, Jeremy, Carolyn, Lori, and Mary. Day in, day out, this small team works often quietly behind the scenes to carry out our mission of getting help to you and the thousands we serve around the state and the country, serving those with Parkinson's and their loved ones. You know, you learn the most about people, about their character when tough times hit. And so in March of last year, when our state and our country shut down due to COVID, we really didn't know what was next or how we were going to continue, because so many of our programs for the past 35 years have relied on in-person programming. So this team panicked for all of about 24 hours and then got to work. Within about a week, we were offering virtual exercise, and soon after that, we were planning our first virtual educational program, far ahead of the curve of other nonprofits and certainly other nonprofits in the Parkinson's community, and we're very proud of that. So over the past year, despite COVID, WPA has continued to provide best-in-class direct and personal assistance to thousands around our state and around our country. I could not be more proud of our team. And the third ingredient is you. WPA exists to serve you. And you play many different roles, but 2 roles I really want to focus on. You are our guides. So through in-person, through post-program surveys, through meeting with you in our groups, and through your calls and emails, you help us design what happens. So this week-long webinar, this came from ideas that you talked about wanting and needing. So that's the first. You are our guides. The second role is you are our financial supporters. Your generosity makes our programs possible. In fact, 85% of all donations that come to WPA come from individuals just like you. So we talk a lot about how WPA programs are free of charge and how we want to make that available to everyone, and that's true, but it's very important. It doesn't mean that those programmings come without a cost. So just to give you an example, a couple of examples, the exercise programs that we've talked about. We have 8 exercise programs around the state. They run every week, maybe serving 20 or so folks. To do that for a year costs roughly about $4,000 to $5,000. Our WPA Wisconsin Parkinson magazine which hopefully you're getting or will be getting. That magazine goes into the hands of over 5,000 people several times a year and gets great information out there. That costs roughly $9,000. And something as big as our annual symposium, which could have 500 or more people at it day long, that a program like that could cost upwards anywhere of $30,000 to $50,000. So there's real costs, but we also know there's real benefits to those programs. So we rely on voluntary donations. And this April, we're going to ask you to at least consider being part of that. Many of you already support us, and thank you for that. But this April, we have a $10,000 match that we're right in the middle of, and we're hoping you'll help us get over the hump to meet that match with a gift today or in the coming days. And I want to make sure you know, we're going to ask you that, and it's the same thing we ask internally here. 100% of our staff, 100% of our board of directors donates to WPA. So it's our board, our staff, and you. Together we make WPA possible. I'd also, as we get ready to start, I'd like to thank our sponsors for this webinar series made possible this great week. Medtronic, Amneal, Boston Scientific, Kiewit Karen. Just a note, you're muted. We can't hear you or see you, but we can take your questions. If you have any questions for our exercise instructors today, at the bottom of your screen, there's a Q&A function. Just type your question in there and submit it, and we'll get to as many of those questions at the end of the presentation as possible. And if we don't get to them today, we'll get to them in future programs or in a publication. Today, we're talking about activity and exercise. Patrick Barron's a physical therapist and owner of FastBack Physical Therapy in New Berlin, and he's going to be joined by our very own exercise coordinator, Mary Wood, to discuss the importance of intense exercise and lead us through a sample workout. Take it away, Patrick and Mary.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, thank you for joining us today. So yes, as Gary said to all of you, we are here to talk about exercise and activity. So you probably will ask yourself, why should I exercise? Well, besides the obvious reasons, because it's good for you, exercise is important for people with Parkinson's disease because it helps maintain your balance, your mobility, and the ability to perform your daily activities. Researchers have found that exercise will slow the progression of the disease. Exercise boosts trophic factors, which is fertilizer for your brain cells. Exercise that is intensive relative to your activity level is neuroprotective, which may prevent the rate of decline of Parkinson's. So now that you know why you should exercise, you probably ask yourself, well, how often should I exercise? So the minimum you should exercise, or at least be your goal, is at least 30 minutes a day, up to 5 days per week. Besides it making you feel good and releasing those good endorphins, there are plenty of benefits for exercise as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and list some ones that I thought were important to talk about. First of all, it improves your mood and reduces depression. It improves your sleep. It improves reduces your fatigue. Of course, the one day that I need to see, my contacts are acting up. It makes activities of daily living easier. It reduces back and neck pain. It can reduce the risk of heart attack and diabetes. It can prevent the onset of other illnesses. And it improves your memory and cognition, reduces the risk of falls, and it improves your balance. So Patrick is going to talk a little bit deeper into types of exercise.
Yeah, I think that Mary has a great list. Anybody that's not familiar with exercise, your neurologist, the first thing that they tell you when you're newly diagnosed is start exercising. And the general advice is start doing some type of exercise that interests you. And you'll find that doing one of those things will result in some of those benefits that Mary just listed. As a physical therapist and somebody who specializes in Parkinson's, what I wanted to do is explain specifically how different types of exercise can help different people with different variations of Parkinson's. So if you're newly diagnosed, or if it has been some time, you will recall that there are something called the primary motor symptoms of Parkinson's, and the acronym is TRAP, T-R-A-P, which is tremor, rigidity, akinesia, which is slowness, and postural instability, those four. So those are the movement-based symptoms that come with Parkinson's. So the thing about it that a lot of people don't know is that your specific Parkinson's to you oftentimes affects areas in your body that are more vulnerable to one or more of those four primary symptoms. When it comes to exercise, if you put yourself in a place 5 years ago, 10 years ago, even 20 years ago, you probably would know which areas of your body needed the most work with exercise. Maybe it's your core, maybe you're stiff, like you've got tight hamstrings, maybe you don't rotate well and your back is really stiff. So it's really important to know that prior to diagnosis of Parkinson's, you had some impairments or limitations that now those four primary motor symptoms of Parkinson's are going to try to latch onto. And the dangerous thing about that is that those are the areas that could progress at a quicker rate. So things that you struggled your whole life with, maybe back pain, arthritis, any balance issues, you add those symptoms of Parkinson's on top of that, and then those symptoms can get worse. And now you're trying to manage your Parkinson's, and at the same time, you have to deal with this thorn in your side that you've had to deal with much of your adult life. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how Parkinson's specific exercise differs from regular exercise. And the way I'd like to start is by referring to those four primary motor symptoms. So the first one in that acronym TRAP is T, or tremor. Now with tremor, myself as a physical therapist, I don't have any really good strategies that gets rid of tremor. However, you may have noticed or been educated that if you do have tremor, whether that's internal or your hand or foot, that tremor can increase with anxiety, and it can also increase with exertion. So if you're in a situation where you're working harder than normal and you notice that your tremor increases, that's exertion. Or if you're in a nervous situation and it increases it, that's anxiety. Well, the way that exercise can potentially help to reduce some tremor is that if you're deconditioned in any way, much of living will cause exertion. So if you have to keep up with somebody, or if you're in a store longer than you would normally be, or if once things open up, you're out at a festival or outdoor event and you haven't done that in a while, now you're in a social setting, there might be some anxiety, and you're also exerting yourself some more. And for that reason, your tremor can increase. So by exercising, using the guidelines that Mary gave you, where you're exercising at least half an hour a day, at least 5 days a week, that increases your body's capacity for exertion. And then in real life, when you are exerting yourself, it's less likely that the tremor will fluctuate. So that's the exercise relation on my perspective with tremor. The next one of the four is rigidity. So rigidity is basically stiffness. The stiffness, for the most part, sets in because of a lack of rotation. What we really want to see with walking and moving is arm swing. And a common symptom with Parkinson's is to walk with less arm swing, where the arms are at the side and not swinging freely. So with rigidity, that gets worse when you don't rotate. So the relation, and how is Parkinson exercise different than regular exercise? It needs to have rotation. And so for that reason, if you're taking an exercise band and are going to do some type of a row exercise like this, it's much better to do a single row that gets your body to rotate than it is to do a bilateral or double row, because when you move both arms, that feeds into that rigidity and stiffness. Whereas when you move one arm at a time, that is much better for mobility, and it can actually reduce the stiffness and rigidity. If you notice that your posture has been getting worse, This is something that you'll often hear from friends and family. They'll say, stand up, sit up straight. The rigidity is the primary driver that pulls you forward when you're walking or sitting. So when you're exercising, it is really essential that you get up. The tip I like to give people is if you put your finger, everybody take your pointer finger and find what we call the sternal notch. So it's the top of the breastbone right here. So if you think of that sternal notch, you can press your finger in there, don't push too hard, but it's a little soft. There's a little depression in there. And I tell my patients, think of that as like a little bird bath. And I don't know why I came up with that, but it seems to work. And imagine that you have to lift that up so that the water stays nice and level. If you let that fall down, the water spills out. So you don't want to sit like this. You want to sit like this. You don't want to exercise like this. You should be exercising like this. It makes an incredible difference when you exercise with that sternum up, shoulders back, and then you rotate around that. That will help to reduce your rigidity. It will improve your posture, and it gets more muscles working.
Keep your bird bath full.
Keep your bird bath full. Okay, the next thing on the list is akinesia. So akinesia, that means no movement. So akinesia, technically speaking, is freezing. So if you have freezing episodes, that's akinesia. Bradykinesia, brady is slow, like your movement is slowing down. So if you notice that your movement is slow, that is bradykinesia. We can just lump that into slowness of movement. So if Parkinson's can cause slowness of movement, the exercises that you select should have some component of speed. And speed comes in multiple ways. Speed comes with initiation. So the initiation of an exercise is like this. If I'm going to do a dumbbell curl, I can thoughtfully bring it up and down, but that's a very slow movement. Or I can get my arms ready and I can go a little bit quicker. And that quickness is a faster initiation, and that helps to get your movement better. That's the reason why quickly paced exercises can get you moving faster. The other thing is how quickly you sustain exercise. So I can do an exercise like this, or I can do an exercise like this. Parkinson's is going to do much better with a faster based exercise. And then the other thing is stopping. Some people actually have difficulty stopping. So if you have noticed as you walk, you speed up and you can't slow down, that's actually still slowness of movement. You can't stop the transition of moving to not moving. So you want to have exercises where you're moving and you stop quickly, or you throw something and then you stop your arms and then you go back. So you want to really delineate between when you're starting the movement, continuing the movement, and stopping the movement. You can apply this to any exercise that you do. The final thing I want to talk about is postural instability. So again, the acronym TRAP, P is for postural instability. So postural instability could be summarized as balance problems or falling. It also can be known that final symptom gets worse as the other three get worse. So you really want to keep those first three symptoms at bay to try to prevent that fourth symptom, postural instability, from worsening. So you want to make sure that your exercises are very global. You want to include a lot of different tasks that challenge your balance, challenge your reaction time. You want to use what you may have heard is known as executive function. That's using your brain while you're exercising. If your exercise program, you've done it for 20 years and you're still doing the same thing, that is no longer a Parkinson's specific exercise. Even if you've had Parkinson's for 10 years, but you're still doing the same program you did 10 years ago, it's no longer specific to Parkinson's. The reason is that those exercises become rote, where you know the routines and you do it over and over. Your brain knows in advance how to do the entire sequence that you're going to do, and you're doing it on autopilot. In order to be Parkinson's specific, your exercises have to be mixed up. You can't always do the same thing. You want them to challenge your balance. And if you've done the same stepping exercise over and over again, you need to now have a safe environment where that can be challenged so that you don't quite know what's going to happen. That challenges that executive function part of your brain, which is so essential. You also want to make sure you include things like task sequencing. So you're going to do things in an order. You're going to create a new order in your mind. and then you're going to carry it out with exercise. And then that should change every time you do it. It works great to have an instructor because they're the ones that give you the sequence. If you come up with the sequence, you might pick an easy one. So it works really well to have somebody else challenge you. If it's your care partner, you want them to throw you off. Now, again, you need to be in a safe environment where you make sure you're not going to fall. But the real key is that it is challenging and it's novel where you don't quite know what to expect. It's also really important just to be present while you're exercising. All of that means is that you want to be thoughtful about your movements. You want to think about not only what am I doing that means it's a good exercise right now, but also how does this to relate to what I do in life? The theory that I have is that exercise is really just practice for real life living. So if you're really good at understanding and thoughtful of your exercises, you can then apply what you learn and do in exercise to how you move in real life. But if you do what I'm talking about and you move well in exercise and then you're done, and then everything goes back to how it was and you walk out and you go about your day without doing those same movements, it's a missed potential where those exercises could have really taught you to move better. Functionally, absolutely. Okay. One other part about the start, continue, stop is the transitions. A lot of people with Parkinson's do have difficulty with transitions, walking through a doorway, going from standing to sitting down on a chair, getting in and out of a car, doing that safely. The tendency is to lump the movement together. So if I were to go to sit down in my chair here, rather than turning and sitting down like this, the tendency might be to grab it and go down sideways, skipping a step or skipping a transition. So when you're doing exercises, they should have multiple components. It shouldn't just be a single movement. It should be a movement and then a step, or something where you have to think of more than one thing. And you should execute that exercise perfectly. Don't skip steps. Don't make your movements smaller and shorter and less big. Try to make sure you go through and make it very, very specific to what you can do in life.
And I can even add just the reverse of that. When you're getting out of your chair, don't get up and do I'm going to walk around. Get up, take your step, then move big steps around.
So thoughtful with exercise, thoughtful with movement. There's three main types of exercise that we could lump. The first one's cardiovascular. It is very, very important you're doing cardiovascular exercise. This is where you get some of your intensity. So going for a walk at a fast pace, running, biking, swimming, kayaking, hiking, anything that challenges you, walking on flat surface is not the best choice. If you can get a little bit of a hill, a little bit of slants, that's helpful. Then we have strength, core, and flexibility. So just your traditional exercises. Make sure you include the core because the core really only works when you get rotation going. Within that, you also want to make sure that you have some high intensity. High intensity is something relative to you specifically. So for some people, that's taking a ball and smashing it on the ground. For other people, it's standing up and pumping the arms up and down and doing it at a quick rate and alternating it up. So just find something that to you feels intensive. And again, make sure that it's under the supervision of what your doctor thinks is safe for you. The next category we have is skill-based. So a skill-based exercise is going to be like boxing. So you see Rocky in the background, so you could come and hit him. So then you have things like martial arts. Tai Chi is fantastic. Tennis, dancing, the Parkinson's dance class is great. Balance training, anything that you have to adapt to your environment and integrate with somebody else. And then the final thing is there's rehabilitative exercise. Just know that the impairments that you have are somewhat unknown to you. And so sometimes it's good to go and have somebody who's got a lot of knowledge on the area. If you have a trusted therapist, for example, you go to them and have them find the impairments, make you aware of them. This is really important for somebody who is newly diagnosed and doesn't really feel a lot of limitation from Parkinson's. Well, keep it that way. And the way you keep it that way is know your weakest link. And your therapist, even if you aren't stumbling and if you don't have pain and you really don't notice a lot other than a few minor symptoms, let them highlight for you the areas that need to be focused on. Now, when you go and exercise, put those newly thoughtful areas into work during exercise and then try to move better in your real life. And what is really most essential is that you want to know where you're most vulnerable for your Parkinson's symptoms to decline. And if you're very informed on that topic, you can really do a lot with exercise to prevent progression.
Yeah, so thank you, Patrick, that was great. So then you might be asking yourself, what should I do? Where should I go from here? Well, just know that some type of exercise is better than nothing at all, especially if you really want to delay that disease and the progression of Parkinson's. So exercise is a personal preference based on your interest, your symptoms, your challenges, as well as your timing of your medication. So try a variety. There's plenty of them virtually. I know there are some more starting in person. We'll hopefully get in person in July, but try a variety of them. See what you like best and which helps best your symptoms, but yet challenges you as well as fits in your schedule. Consider, as Patrick was saying, variable versus predictable exercise programming. If you've memorized the moves, then you're not challenging yourself anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and give you a couple of exercise examples and show you different modifications with them. So depending on where you are in your Parkinson's and where you are with your life and exercise, it'll show you a little bit of variety. So I'm going to move this out of the way. I'm going to do some individual ones, and then Patrick and I will do some partner work that you can do with a caregiver or your partner. So the first one will just be, make sure I'm in here. Great. So just seated. We're just going to sit. We're going to sit tall. Keep that water in our bird feeder. And we're going to march. So we're going to lift those legs, lifting with our core up as high as you can. So just a simple, basic march as high as you can. So where do we progress from a march? Well, we did it seated. If you're able, we're able to do that standing. Always have something nearby, holding on for balance, and lift those knees and march, just marching in place. And then progression from here would be marching around the room. And again, you do not have to do these with me. They're more just for showing you, but if you feel safe, you're welcome to do them with me. And then progression from here would be the high knee jogging in place.
If Mary, you do that jogging one more time. So just watch as she does this. You just want to make sure that the shoulders are moving a little bit. So you want to be striding with your arms a little bit when you do that to get the rotation.
Thank you for not making me do that for 5 minutes. Then we have strength training. So you may say, I don't have anything at home that I can use to lift weights. Yes, you do. So if you don't have weights, right, 2 pounds all the way up to whatever you're able to lift, you can use water bottles. You can even let the water, dump some of the water out if it's too heavy. You can use canned goods, good old chili beans. You can even use a coffee cup. Got the handle, nice to hold on to and grip. So no excuse for not being able to use some weights at home. Lower body strength, back to sitting. So working on those large quadricep muscles, sitting tall, shoulders up, posture nice and tall, just alternating leg kicks, right and left. You can do alternating or stay with one side at a time, but really building that strength of those quadricep muscles. From here to progress, just come up with a little hover and sit down. Up and down, and then progression from there, sorry, my papers are always in the way, is a sit to stand, simply like it's stated, standing and then sitting. Standing all the way up and sitting. And then the progression from there would be your squats. Feet about shoulder width apart, squatting down, hips are going back, and knees stay behind the toes, and up, down, and up. So you can see there are very many progressions to leg strength and lower body Oh, I'm going to stay standing for this next one. Some examples of balance exercises. Feet shoulder width apart. I'm going to adjust the camera a little bit so you can see my feet. So feet shoulder width apart. We're pretty balanced there. Not too challenging. Feet together will make it a little more challenging. Core is strong, chest is out tall and proud. Staggered stance. It's a little more challenging. Feet touching each other. Tightrope. Getting up there and challenge. And then lastly, single leg stance. So again, just some samples and examples of how you can progress from standing to standing and balancing. We do some brain work activities in class. It's important to work the brain with the body. So for an example, hand brain work, we'll make the okay sign. You're all okay, and peace. And then we will switch. One side is okay and one is peace. And then switch. These are tricky. And you do it as fast as you can. Peace and okay. We do brain with body work. We'll step over an object and count up 1. We'll step back the other way. Name a vegetable that starts with the letter R. Radishes. Step over, count up 2. Step over another vegetable that starts with the letter R.
Rutabaga.
Rutabaga, and so on and so forth. So brain and body, and requiring balance, things like that. And then I'll just give you an example of some floor work, but I will do it on the mat. You can do these in your bed if you're not able to get to the floor. So laying down, heels close to your glutes. And you're going to take those knees and take them side to side, holding those core muscles in. Only take the knees over as far as they can comfortably go without your shoulders popping up off the mat. So side to side, nice spinal stretch. And then stopping in the center, walking those heels back up if they walked away, taking those hips up, doing your bridges up, squeezing those glutes, pressing those heels into the mat or bed or floor and down. So pressing up and down and up and down. And bicycles, my classmates love bicycles. Core is engaged, drawing that navel into the spine, shins are up to the ceiling, heels are flexed, and you're going to pedal away as if you're pedaling a bicycle. And if you start to feel pain in those hip flexors or your inner thighs, you need to tighten up your core and use those core muscles and not your thighs. Yeah, so those are my individual workouts, and I'm going to go ahead and do some partner work with Patrick. So we'll start here. Coat's got to come off. I'm getting warm. So sitting across from each other, you want to be able to have it be enough of the distance where it's challenging for passing an object. Patrick and I are going to pass the ball. And I'm going to take it, I'm going to lean back, pass it. He's going to lean back. Again, making sure there's a big enough stretch where you're reaching, reach. And then we can go overhead with the ball. Back, overhead. We can take the ball down, stretching down, and up, and passing. And don't forget your rotation, core and strong, passing it side to side. So adding on, layering. Let's do our teeter totter. We'll use this one. So this one you can do at home with, if you don't have a therapy band, you can use a belt, you can use a towel, a rope. So Patrick is gonna reach his arms all the way up while I go down into my squat, knees stay behind the knees stay behind the toes, and Patrick's gonna go down, and I'm gonna reach up, teeter-tottering up and down. A few more. So know your partner's abilities, don't pull it up too high.
You have rotation if you go that way when you go down.
Oh, squatting down.
Yep, so that way, you go that way. So add some rotation into it.
Let's see. Let's do, just gonna throw this one in. So Patrick was talking about being unpredictable. So I'm gonna raise it up and I'm gonna have Patrick, you're gonna hit it. I'm gonna challenge him, make him reach, make him stretch. Thank you for being gentle. So let's stand where their ball go. Here we go. Let's go back to back. Some more rotation. So passing the ball with 2 hands is ideal and taking it with 2 hands. Nice twist side to side. You can start with a towel if you don't have a ball. You can use a weight. Keeping the core muscles again in nice and strong, and then go the other direction.
If you're able, try to use your eyes to spot the ball. That way it's a little harder for your balance.
We can try this overhead, but Patrick's a lot taller than me. All right. And let's practice just doing those turns. So with Parkinson, sometimes your turns you may find are getting slower looking behind you. So Patrick's gonna tap me on the shoulder. And whatever shoulder he taps, I'm gonna step and turn around and look and go back. I won't look at the screen and cheat. So step and turn. Turn your head with your body. And I think our last one we'll do, let's do our reaction catching. So I'm going to toss the ball to Patrick with 2 hands. Toss, quick catch. Whoa, see, he threw me off there. There, I got you back. Awesome. Anything you want to add for partner work, Patrick?
I think it's the main thing is that the partner gets to set the pace and make it unpredictable. It makes it much better when you don't quite know what's coming.
So, as most of you, or some of you may know that I do teach the exercise classes virtually at this time for the Wisconsin Parkinson Association. I teach Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 9 a.m. Through Facebook. You can join me through Zoom, or after the classes are recorded and uploaded, I do put those on YouTube as well. So we have a nice library of videos on YouTube.
And for me, so my physical therapy clinic in New Berlin, we do a lot of work with people with Parkinson's. Many of you who are watching have been here. So we do it in multiple ways. We started with rock steady boxing. That's really what the spark was. I love rock steady boxing. It's a fantastic exercise. We do it live. We also do it via Zoom. We also have a new service through a company called Movement Revolution. Movement Revolution is a company specifically for people with neurological disorders, and it's one-on-one training. So if you need help with exercise, we offer guided one-on-one help with exercise. With that company, we are able to offer, anybody watching today can come in for a free movement assessment, exercise-based movement assessment, and you can take that assessment to then use on whatever form of exercise that you choose. But the idea is to try to really make you aware of those specific impairments so that you know what to focus on with exercise. And then finally, as a physical therapist, I'm a huge advocate that you receive therapy services, PT, OT, speech. As a PT specializing in Parkinson's, my favorite thing to do is POWER, PWR, which is Parkinson's Wellness Recovery. POWER is infinitely adaptable to every person, and there's floor exercises, sitting exercises, standing exercises, transition exercises. We offer that in many different forms. There are POWER classes that you can find and do. We offer a small, about 5 visits to teach you a custom POWER workout that you can then do on your own, and that we do go through insurance to do. And we can offer that live in our clinic or also via telehealth. I think that's all right.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, one thing I wanted to mention too, when I plan my classes out for the week, there are key components that I always want to make sure I touch in each class. So you're getting a beneficial exercise class. So it's balance, joint work, brain and body work, some type of cardio, and sometimes we dance, core stability, core strength, lower and upper body strength, posture, facial exercises. I require a lot of smiling, so be prepared for that. We work on vocals, we do stretches, cool down, and some mindfulness. So I hope you consider joining me through the Wisconsin Parkinson Association for one of my exercise classes.
Thank you guys for the opportunity for us to teach.
All right, Patrick and Mary, thank you very much for your presentation. For those who haven't joined us the last 4 days, my name is Jeremy Oddie. I'm the Director of Outreach and Education. I'm the one who will do some of the questions that were asked. One of the things I will tell you, if you were not feverishly taking notes and were watching and actually participating, the last 2 issues of the magazine that Gary showed, we have exercises from Mary. One is stretching and one is exercises. And then you can also go to our website to get more of those exercise programs she has done for us over the last year or so. A couple of the questions that have come in. Gerhard wants to know, with balance issues that occur with Parkinson's disease, is bike riding a problem or is it good practice for somebody with PD?
So I'll take that one. Bike riding is a fantastic activity for balance, but it has to be safe. So it comes down to transitions. Once you start going on a bike and you're getting some speed, that is not the problem. In fact, you're really not doing balance at that point. The balance on a bike comes with the transitions when you're slowing down, going down a curb, making a turn at a slow speed. So you do need to make sure that you're safe to do those. And it does challenge the balance. So if you're safe, absolutely do it. It's not going to give you much in terms of balance for walking though. That would have to be specific. You'd have to have both feet on the ground, and you have to have a balance challenge when you're standing on your feet.
Thank you, Patrick. I think that really answers his question. The next one I have is from Autumn. Wants to know, can you recommend any hamstring specific strengthening exercises?
Sure, I could take that one too. So for hamstrings, if you have weak hamstrings and all the thigh muscles, the quads, the hamstrings, and then also the gluteals, the most important thing is they need to work together. So you can take a basic hamstring exercise, put a cuff weight on your ankle. That's the easiest hamstring exercise that there is. And then you just do the butt kick. Now, if you do that without holding on, now you're using this leg, you're using this leg. You might have to have one hand on something, but that's a good way to do it. For rock steady, one of our favorite, we say butt kicks. Whose butt are you going to kick? And then everybody says mine. And so you could, that's a hamstring curl. You can take your office chair, if you have an office chair at home, and you set that down and you basically go around, try not to run into people. And then that pulling motion is a hamstring exercise. And then I'll give you one more. If you have an exercise ball like this, which I really recommend, there's a lot of exercises you can do with a ball like this. If you lean on it, as you roll forward, you're using your core. As you roll backwards, that's the hamstring. So basically you pull back like this, and that's a hamstring exercise. In this position, we start getting into our power moves. So you can add a rotation with it. And then the benefit is rather than just using your hamstrings both at the same time, You have to use them while you rotate or move. Okay, so those are some examples. There's infinite number of different things I could have shown you.
No problem. I appreciate that. I will say of the 5 days, you guys have had the most visual aids. So
Yeah.
it's glad you did it at the studio there.
Yeah, and Jeremy, I would also just say that the traditional hamstring exercise curl, just like this, it doesn't benefit you much because it's not a functional exercise. It's really important to have some other level of challenge along with it.
Thank you. That's a good clarification. I appreciate that. So Mark has a question. Can you recommend a book that discusses exercises for Parkinson's disease?
I would recommend the book Delay the Disease from Columbus HealthWorks. It is specific to Parkinson's exercise. It's actually where I've gotten my Parkinson's certification through. It comes with a DVD as well.
And then I would just say this one here, which you may have heard, it's maybe backwards. I don't know if you can see it right, but it's
perfect.
Davis Finney, Every Victory Counts. You can get it for free, or I think you might just have to pay for shipping, but Davis Finney, you may have heard that reference before, but it's got a wealth of information, including different exercise variables.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I think books are great. I think a lot of the videos are great because you can participate in them too. So anything with visual aids. So Mary said Delay the Disease. It was a little hard to hear at first. And then Patrick shared Every Victory Counts. So I think both of those are good books. Mary, I want to look for your videos, your exercises that you've been doing on YouTube. How do I find them on YouTube? Is there a keyword I should be typing in?
On YouTube, it's WPA Movement and Music Virtual Exercise. That's the same on Facebook.
Okay. And I'll repeat that because you're a little hard to hear right now, Mary. WPA Movement and Music on YouTube. You can do that on Facebook as well, or you can go through wiparkinson.org, go under our exercise links, and they will also send you to Mary's YouTube videos,
Yes.
if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, and I would highly recommend too, if you're going to join us in Zoom. I've got a great group of probably 12 people right now in Zoom, and you just really get that camaraderie and that in-person class feel. So don't be shy. We have a good time. It gives me feedback as an instructor, which then helps you. So if you want that Zoom link, you can email me, Mary W at wiparkinson.org, and I can email you the Zoom link.
Much appreciated. I think with the email today, you will get the link to the website that has the exercise programs. One other question came up, and I'm going to answer it because I'm going to ask myself a question, which is awkward. Somebody had asked, how do I find exercise classes in my area? And the best thing I would tell them is if you go to wiparkinson.org, we have support groups and exercise groups listed there around the state. We have over 200 support and exercise groups listed. One thing we'd recommend is with all the exercise groups we have, we list what the class is and who the instructor is. Obviously, right now with COVID restrictions, some are open with safe distancing, some haven't opened yet. So definitely call those facilities, find out what their programs are, when they're offered, if times have changed, and then what they are doing for safety and what you feel comfortable with. So definitely call ahead before you just show up. And then if any of them offer a fee to join, we list that on our website, but definitely find out from them what that fee would be. So you can look into those on our website. The last thing I'm going to ask both of you before I hand the floor back over to Gary, when it comes to exercise, you talked a little bit earlier about just doing it. What are some of the tricks you use to make sure people keep coming back and stay active? Because you know what the benefits are, but how do you get them to keep coming back and doing this day after day, week after week?
I mean, you first of all have to want to do it, because nobody's going to force you. So you've got to do it, want to do it, and do it for the right reasons. And if you find the right exercise group and it's fun, you're going to want to go back. I know just personally, I do Zumba virtually, and I've found so many instructors I loved and so many I never went back. So find something that you like and is fun. And I can tell you my classes are fun, so just join us.
I would just add to that just like you have a care partner, you should have an accountability partner, and that sometimes is not your care partner. You guys have your own relationship and demands. get involved in a class and make a friend and pick who your accountability partner is that's going to make sure that you show up, that calls you when you're not there.
Thank you both. One more question did come in. I'm going to answer it. Janice asked the name of the book. It's Delay to Disease that Mary recommended, called Delay to Disease. So you can find that in any, I've seen that on Amazon and a number of other places. So you can put that in the Google machine. It should find it for you. So with that, I'm going to hand the floor back over to our Executive Director, Gary Garland. He is going to wrap up today's meeting. Thank you both for presenting. Have a good rest of your week.
You too.
Yeah, thanks so much, Mary and Patrick, for bringing your skills, your energy, and I think inspiring everyone. You guys spent some good time, rightfully, on the physical benefits, and then at the end here, I know, Mary, especially you were touching on the mental health benefits, and that just can't be underestimated. Being in a group, being with people who are lifting you up each and every day, as well as the chemicals that are being pumped out, is so important. So again, just a reminder, go to our website, wiparkinson.org, and find a class for yourself. So thank you both for helping out today. For those in the audience, if you've missed any of the programs, as we said, you can find those at our website, wiparkinson.org, all 4 days, and this one will be up soon as well. A couple of dates I want to ask you to put on your calendar to save. May 6th, we have our next game night, and Mary helps out and leads that as well with some high school students. It's a lot of fun, and I think, Mary, when you were talking about the vegetables that begin with R, right? There's some cheat notes right there. People can use those probably when we play categories. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So hopefully those of you watching today will join us if you haven't been there already. So May 6th. And then July 30th is our annual symposium. That's hold that date. It's a work in progress, right? It's our hope to hold it in person at the Brookfield Conference Center, additionally with live stream available as well for folks who it's hard to get there, folks who are still feeling unsafe. But July 30th will be our annual symposium. As we mentioned before, you're going to get an evaluation, and please take the 5 minutes or less that it takes to fill that out. It helps us really formulate and drive programming, knowing what you felt, what you've heard, what you want to see in the future. That'll be coming probably in the next couple of hours in your email, so watch for that. And just to end, want to thank again our sponsors. There'll be information about them in that email. Our sponsors who made this week possible: Medtronic, Amneal, Boston Scientific, and Kiwa Karen. Thanks for your help for keeping these programs free. Thanks to everybody who joined us today and throughout the week. It's my big hope, and I know yours, that hopefully we will see you not through a screen, but in person very soon. Have a great afternoon.